Hey guys, and welcome to a pretty special video. We are actually going to be looking at two battles today, the first of which shall be myself up against Logic, Wood Elves versus High Elves, the Battle of the Pointy Ears. Now the reason I'm doing a two-parter today is we're going to be doing a little bit of analysis on the box build, my thoughts on box builds in general, and why I don't think they're particularly good. So we're going to be looking at two different examples, one up against Logic here in a practice game, and then one up against Void Lols in a competitive finals of a tournament, so all on the line. First, we'll go through the build. So for my Wood Elf forces, in the front line we have Eternal Guard dotted all the way along. Eternal Guard with shields, very stalwart, should do good at holding back the enemy, allowing the rest of my build to really pack a punch and deal the damage. In the back line, we have one of my favourite units, super cool guys. We have the 2xCast, regiment around War Dancers with Azrai Spears, beautiful bonus versus large, very good at taking down enemy cavalry. Also helping support them, we have some Blade Singers in that centre pocket looking to chew their way through the enemy infantry, and some more War Dancers over on this far side. This is all going to be supported by a Glade Rider unit in the back, and two Forest Dragons up in the skies looking to come down and breath their horrific, toxic breath over on the enemy. Do some good work that way. They've got some really cool models as well, the little spikies and the antlers, very cool in my humble opinion. Leading the forces, we have a Spellweaver of High Magic, looking to make these dragons invisible with Loic's Blessing. Gives them extra speed, stalk, and unspottable, so we get nice and close and do those disgusting breath attacks on the enemy range. With Arcane Conduit, Opal Amulet, Challenge Staff, Tempest, Soul Quench, Hand of Glory, and Apotheosis. So going fat with the spells with the Spellweaver, but because she is our lord, we are saving a little bit of money, not having to bring a Spellcaster hero. Now for my opponent's build, he does have double Noble, assisting Alarielle, so a nice competitive pick there. Noble's, of course, anti-large, can be beautiful bodyguards for her. Front line, as well as the flanks of this box build, shall be made up by the Silvern Guard, and in the back burners, we have a couple of Spearmen, hoping that they can stay away from the main engagements and just look nice and tough. In the centre, we have two units of Sisters of Avalon, as well as the Talons of Tor Khalida, regiment around who do give that fire weakness, so a nice combination there with the Sisters of Avalon. This is the type of build I see all the time, and box builds in general, the main reason you bring them is because you're trying to protect that centre of your formation. Likewise, you cannot be rear charged, all your flanks are secure, the enemy will have to face your shield wall head on. Now the main weaknesses here of box builds throughout history is actually quite a good teacher of this. So going square, in other words, kind of forming a box, was very popular in the Empire days of war, because it's very good against cavalry. Can't get in anywhere, spears all over the place, but it's very weak to one thing, and that thing was cannons. Cannons could do huge damage. Box builds are very, very static in general, and what does the Wood Elves have, or in fact most Warhammer factions have, even if they don't have cannons? They have magic, or they have breath attacks, or on all kinds of different big burst damage air of effect abilities. We didn't bring Pendulum today, but normally we could do a Pendulum straight down this line, catching 3 units, getting some insane value. We don't have that, but we do indeed have 2 big Forest Dragons. And this is where some of the problems do come in for the box build. You can see they're raining down fire now, doing some lovely damage to our Eternal Guards. However, we have popped Loic's Blessing on our Forest Dragons, making them invisible. Coming up here, doing some huge breath attacks down on those Sisters of Avalon. Although a well-placed Earthblood, going to be trying to keep them alive where possible. But a second breath attack is going to be coming in, hitting that second unit, doing some lovely work onto both the units so far. Although Earthblood should keep them nice and topped up, and we're taking a lot of damage in retaliation. Another problem with box builds in general is you cannot pick and choose your fights. Fast protection goes down on this unit of Silvern Guard, and there's Silvern Guard in the front line and weaker Spearmen in the back. I'm not going to charge this if I don't have to. Simply going to start moving my Eternal Guard around behind the enemy, and now he has to either break his box formation, leaving his ranged units vulnerable, and that's just what he does, pushing forward with the Silvern Guard, wanting to use that fast protection, and now there is a big gap in the line. Blade Singers quite happily chewing through Silvern Guard, despite the magic resistance. Blade Singers simply do too much damage. In the back, he does start to split the box open as the Spearmen realise their predicament, coming out here to try to duel the Eternal Guard. And now it is a little bit more open, we can float in with our Forest Dragons and start feasting upon these Sisters. However, Double Noble is nearby, that is rather scary, and there's some lovely crossfire coming in. Logic has formed almost a second smaller box over here, but it is a little bit more squishy. Forest Dragon is now having to retreat back up into the air. Lovely cast there of the Earthblood and Star of Avalon, trying to keep the Silvern Guard fighting, but despite this, Blade Singers are just absolutely slaughtering them with that Hand of Glory. Oh, 70 melee attack, glorious stuff. Forest Dragon once again going to come in with the big breath attack on these Sisters, nearly breaking this unit down to just 19 models. And now that we have started to pick apart the box, the Forest Dragon is feasting upon their souls with the help of the Eternal Guard. But nice pressure from my opponent coming in, raining fire down. We're going to have to come in with an Apotheosis and escape into the back once more. Lux Tricksters do disengage with this fight. A little bit of sloppy micro from me. We've got too many units bugged up on the Silver Guard. But now we've started to disengage, whip around the flanks and push and start to pressure these archers. Now that the box has been broken in the front line as well, Glade Riders have charged headlong through in, running over spearmen. We have Blade Singers in the back, we have Eternal Guard in the back, and the Sisters, even with fast protection, shall be going down here. The Forest Dragon has returned, and all round my opponent has done a good job of forcing off the Forest Dragons, but because he is committed to the defensive play, he simply has nothing to chase and escort them away, so they're coming back, getting big value with their breath attacks, and being held up by Apotheosis. Glade Riders once again do dive through that wall that has been opened up, and on to the Talons as well as the Sisters once more. Also trying to break the rear of those Spearmen, allow the Loix Tricksters to really get there in the back lines. Apotheosis is going to be going up on that Forest Dragon as Loix Blessing was popped on the Spellweaver, allowing her to swoop into engagements a little bit nicer. Would also have Spears in a bad engagement up against Silver Guard, but they have managed to shatter one unit, and at least they're keeping these guys busy in a way from protecting their back line, allowing the Dragons just to float down in the back lines and clean up all those routing troops, stopping them from returning to the field. And Eternal Guard just sandwiching the Sisters, poor ladies, are getting stabbed to death by these spears, as the Eternal Guard do swirl their blades around with deft skill. Nobles still looking rather healthy, likewise is Alarielle, although the Blade Singers with a Hand of Glory on them once more, shall be trying to see to them. Butchering the Talons now coming in onto the Spearmen, as the Forest Dragon gets healed up once more with Apotheosis. Another problem I have with box builds in general, compared to something like an Onion build, which I think is far, far, far better for range builds, is now that you can see I broke that one little bit in the front, we didn't even have to do damage, we just had to coax him out, to really kind of open up these gaps, and then we can just roll in. There's only one layer of defense, and now the Forest Dragon is floating over top. Big breath attack down on Alarielle the Radiant, looking to swoop in. Sisters of Avalon trying their best as Eternal Guard do start to butcher them, and the Dragon's now going to be cycle charging Alarielle. There is two nobles supporting, but they are only on horseback, and they're not going to really be any match for a Forest Dragon unless they isolate it like this, which is very good play once more by the High Elves. But Blade Singers and Loix Tricksters are nearby. Star of Avalon does go down, but these ladies should be able to get in there and really bring the pain to these nobles. The Spellweaver of High Magic getting a little bit cocky now as well, because being on so much health advantage, is going to pop in the back and start to use those talons to rip and tear Alarielle to pieces. Nobles now darting all over the place, trying to stop dragons, trying to stop eagles. It's a tough job for a noble bodyguard. In the back line, looks like the Talons have kind of come back here and start raining fire down on the Forest Dragon, but no longer having the synergy with the Sisters. They are really going to struggle as that Dragon lands and it just pummels them into explosive puffs of blood. And yeah, they're going to waver and tear out. I certainly do not blame them whatsoever. Alarielle is trying to make a last stand here. Spellweaver comes in once more. Opal Ambulance has been popped to give us that damage resistance in case the nobles get a little bit tricksy. Hand of Glory is on those Loix Tricksters, increasing their melee attack to 70. Really going to be able to pick the pain there on those nobles. So Avalon still being a very stalwart unit, showing that they can mix up in combat as well as at range, but are slowly going down here just to the added numbers of the Wood Elf forces at this point. Southern Guard done a good job, but it's holding back double Eternal Guard over on this left-hand flank, but the Forest Dragon can come over here now and do some nasty trickery, either by breath attacks or landing and trying to slaughter those troops. I think one of our dragons has been defeated at this point. Yeah, it looks like it's been shot and kind of driven away from the battlefield, but we're not too worried at the moment. Alarielle is getting very, very low, and we have Loix Tricksters now with Hand of Glory once more, and you can see the noble health just dipping so quickly. Those ladies with their anti-large spears doing some fantastic damage. As the added mobility we have and battle control, or map control, we can use the dragon just to feast upon Sisters every time they retreat. And it looks like Alarielle as well getting a little over eagle, trying to save her ladies and escape the Blade Singers. Could now be the focus of attention from the Forest Dragon if she's not careful. Over here, Spellweaver does dart down on the Silver Guard, breaking them, allowing the War Dancers to chase them off the field, and once again pour into the danger zone. Those poor nobles getting stuck now. Blade Singers getting Apotheosis on them, nice and topped up. One of the nobles has been dealt nearly a killing blow. He's diving away at this point, and that does leave Alarielle a little bit more open to assassination attempts. Big damage comes in from the Spellweaver as the Loix Tricksters dart through the lines, hunting that prey, trying to get in there with their spears, and if they surround her, it certainly shall be the end of her. But she punts a War Dancer away. Not today, she screams as she runs away, cowering before the might of the woodish folk. Although that Forest Dragon may have something to say, swooping and gliding elegantly in to come in with a big stomp. Alarielle, if she gets hit once, and she does, she shall be dying. And with that, this battle certainly going to be over. A real scrappy affair though. Well played to Logic, made that a really close game. in a fun matchup. High Elves versus Wood Elves used to be really favoured in High Elves' way, and now I'd say it's more kind of 60-40. Wood Elves certainly have a lot of tricks up their sleeves, but very well played nonetheless. So let's have a little look at our damage value and damage stats and all that good stuff. Then we'll talk a little bit more about box builds before going into Game 2 up against Void, which shall be Lizardmen versus Tomb King, so make sure to stick around for that. The Spellweaver of High Magic coming in, only 768 damage value, but her Apotheosis is Hand of Glory, as well as making those dragons invisible, so he can come in for that big snipe attack on the sisters. He knows they're there, but he doesn't know exactly where, and that's kind of the problem. If you can't see them, you can't target them, and that means they can come in and get some insane value early on in the game. Tuner Guard, simply there to kind of hold back the enemy and swarm in where possible. They certainly did that rather well. One unit even getting 800 damage value. As for the rest of our build, the Loix Tricksters performed really well, 1.7k damage value, despite not having many large targets to get on. They were able to whip around the flank, get into the back line, and eventually surround those nobles, and that's just where they want to be, hacking down those mighty beasts of combatants. Blade Singers were really MVPs here, just chewing their way through the Silver Guard, despite that magic resistance. Blade Singers have so much damage output just pouring out of them that it didn't really matter in the end. Getting 192 kills, 15k damage dealt, and 2,692 damage value. Really lovely work by them. The other War Dancers kind of got bogged down fighting some Silver Guard, but managed to win those engagements in the end due to the support of the Forest Dragons, and at the same time were relatively healthy in the end game. Double Forest Dragon did very good target priority though. My opponent was always making sure to focus fire down targets, so focus on one dragon, then focus on the next rather than splitting fire. That's how you get the best out of this combination of the sisters with the regiment round archers. But despite this, 2,000 damage value on one unit, 2,709 on the other. And these type of units can really abuse box builds. Static builds in general can struggle up against the big flying beasties. For Logic's forces, Alarielle, 700 damage value, not too shabby, despite the fact she was more there for the supports. The Double Nobles really struggling, not having the best targets, only now and again being able to hop on top of those dragons who did float down, but they did do a good job keeping Alarielle alive to the end game. Now, Spearmen suffered a little bit. Silver Guard were a mixed bag, some performing really badly, others getting up to nearly 1,000 damage value. It really just depends on what foes they were facing. And it looks like the sisters did pretty good work. 1,000 damage value here, 1.1k on the other one, 1,700 on the Talon. So this is also the pros of the box build, right? They got the value from their range, despite the fact I put a lot of pressure on them. But at the same time, once it gets opened up, they just don't really have anywhere to go. Whereas in an Onion build, it's much harder for me to break into an Onion build. Even with the dragons, there's a lot more crossfire coming in. If we break through one unit of Silver Guard or manage to peel them away, so at the start we just ignored the unit with fast protection, if it wants to get value from its magic, it had to move away from that front line, open up the gap which slowly got wider and wider, and then we could pour in with Glade Riders. If that's a box build, that doesn't happen, because those Glade Riders pour in, and what do they meet? Another big fat spear wall. But anyway, let's go and have a little look at a different replay, so I can highlight another kind of little bit about the box build in general, how it works and how it doesn't work. So let's hop into this one. Now this was from a final of a tournament actually hosted by our previous opponent there, and it was Lizardmen, of course, up against Tomb Kings. A matchup a lot of people like for the Tomb Kings. They kind of bring it to counter the Lizardmen, but I don't mind it too much for the Dino Boys. I think it's certainly doable. So let's have a look at our builds. Now for us, it's gone for a traditional format in this matchup, which is the triple big dino. We did not bring Mazdamundi this time, though. No sirree. We have Crocky G, the mighty Crockgar, coming with Hand of the Gods on top of Grimlock, the bestest of boys. Let's give him a little head scratch there, just to let him know that we love him. Coming in with Hands of the Gods, we have Swiftness of Itzel, Deadly Onslaught, Sacred Spawning as well. We have the Thunderous One, the mighty beast itself, perfect for cracking open and destroying elite infantry of those thunder strikes coming down. And we have a Feral Carnosaur as well. Main battle line is a mixture of skinks, skink cohorts of javelins, and Saurus warriors, some with spears, some basic ones as well, dotted all the way along, and we have 2 units of Pterodon riders with fire-leech bowlers hiding in the back. As for my opponent, he does have some Karen up in the sky. They're being used to bring some line of sight, so his build can indeed work and follow the attacking rule, because in the centre of his box, he has the Casket of Souls. Very good artillery piece, good at destroying Saurus warriors and the like, and because those Karen are up in the skies, he can see over this hill and fire in. Apart from that, it is just Tomb Guard Halberd box, so Tomb Guard all the way along, and the Kepper Guard in the back, elite Tomb Guard warriors. We have double Necrotech here to try and heal up the big beastie, which is the Hero Titan. Comes in with Spirit Leech, Shems, Ben, and Gaze, and is a big problem in general. We do have a Archon the Black, I believe, hiding on foot here, coming in with just Spirit Leech. So double Spirit Leech, very scary stuff, looking to assassinate targets, and a big fat Soul Blight. We also have one unit of the Eyes of the Desert. I'm a real big fan of this pick, even in the box build. They're going to be very hard to protect, but if you can do some damage early on, because these guys have Stalk, then fall back into the box, maybe there is hope for them just yet. Foliage Bowlers, going to start abusing the box though, coming in with those nice damage shots in the rear onto the Keeper Guard, who of course do have that weakness to fire. And this is all I was talking about earlier. So we didn't have this in the last game, but here we do come in with Flock of Doom. We're just going to cast an Overcast Flock of Doom on this build, and we're going to be spam doing that all battle where possible. You can see the damage value we're getting from the relatively cheap spell. Sneaky Snakes are forcing out the Pterodon Riders. Karen are now in hot pursuit, which is a big problem for me. It is a little bit risky sometimes bringing two flying units up against Karen, because they can really do some good damage there. Castle of Souls is doing some nice work on the Saurus Warriors, but we're starting to overload one flank, getting ready to engage with the enemy. I know the Sneaky Snakes are here, and I don't mind engaging with all my dinosaurs at once, looking to break them down. Now with the Skink Cohorts, who certainly can do some nice damage as well, there is no need for me to push forward if I don't want to. A Spirit Leech does go down on Krokgar. I think it would have been better served going down on our little Priesty, though, trying to get him off the field. And now we're shooting in as well with the Thunderous one as Pterodons once again swoop back, distracting the Karen with a suicide kind of usage of the other unit, floating into the corner of the map here. We're looking to slowly get the surround. Javelins are being thrown in, once again aiming at those Tomb Guard Halberds, as they could cause big problems for us in the end game. Castle of Souls is continuing to try to rain fire down on the Saurus Warriors, doing some relatively nice work. And once again, we come with the Overcast Flock of Doom. Beautiful damage value come in. Big Hands of the Gods unfortunately misses almost all its bolts, but still one or two manages to catch Archon, doing some lovely damage to him. And before the battle's even engaged, we're looking pretty healthy. Balance power's actually in our favour. Keeper Guard as well as the Tomb Guard have all taken massive damage, going to mean the Saurus Warriors can trade really effectively up against them now, and Archon the Black is a little bit damaged. Lovely summon of the Skeleton Warriors, trying to hold back our Saurus Warrior advance for the most part, but we'll be able to chew for them relatively quickly. Saurus Warriors looking to pull back here, actually. It seems maybe we're trying to whip around a little bit and just ignore the summon where possible. Javelins have used up all their shots now, and we're simply vibing at the back with the Thunderous one, who has some really nice missile pressure, shooting into those Tomb Guard. Shems, Ben, and Gaze does come down, as well as a Spirit Leech on the Skink Priest. Looks like my opponent has kind of caught wind of what we're doing, and another Overcast Flock of Doom comes in, the third one of the game. Carnosaur bounding into the back onto the Eyes of the Desert. Nom 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 nom. That's a tasty little snack for our beautiful Dino boy. Crocky G needs to get in here and help support though, as well as the Thunderous one, and that Flock of Doom. This unit of Tomb Guard just hasn't fought yet, and they're down to below half health already. We're engaging part of the box. There's no need to engage all aspects in one go. We can simply hammer one side, and these Tomb Guard are all of a sudden doing absolutely nothing, which is absolutely fine for me. More shots coming in by the Casket of Souls. Good targeting by Void, hitting those Saurus Warriors, trying to get those mighty beasts off the field. They're mid-tier infantry, but they certainly pack a punch. Carnosaur does now have Rampage, so we're going to be following in with Krokgar and the Thunderous one, committing all our forces to try and destroy the Eyes of the Desert. Sacred Spawning comes down, and that Carnosaur going straight after the big boy, the Jewel of the Beasts. And with the three large entities in here, it's going to be really hard for my opponent to protect. Liber Mortis does come down, and that's one of the big pros of the box build. Yes, big debuffs like Flock of Doom coming in can really punish you, but big buffs like Bonus Time Warp and Liber can help out quite nicely. We disengage with some of our large beasties. The Pterodons are just floating into the back now, once again doing pretty good burst damage to the Keeper Guard where possible, trying to focus down all these troops. Feral Carnosaur is slightly isolated, so once again we are going to charge back in with all our big boys. Skink Cohorts, I should say, and Saurus Warriors are going to continue to drive into the fray. Good targeting and a little bit unlucky RNG with the Overcast. I think we overcast and kind of miscast most of the time. Skink Priest is going to be getting forced off here, which is a little bit sad. Karen's done a good job focusing down the Pterodon Riders. I probably should have 2v1 them in the fight, I think. Rather than kind of allowing them to do this, but still we've got some pretty good damage off them. Keeper Guard are going down rather quickly, and Archon the Black is getting pounded down by the Thunderous one, as well as Krokgar. Big Hand of the Gods comes in, slapping him in the face, doing massive damage, and the Casket of Souls simply cannot be used at the moment because it's so bogged up now. It's such a tight box formation. It got good damage early on, but now is basically just a useless wreck kind of in the middle. Archon the Black seems like he's going to go down. A Spirit Leech has been popped on Crocky G, but he is very healthy at the moment, and is now going to be turning his sights on the Eyes of the Desert, just simply ignoring the Hero Titan for now. In comes Krokgar, and the Thunderous one jumping with glee into the Eyes of the Desert. Should be able to overwhelm them relatively comfortably, as Archon the Black does go down. Feral Carnosaur is currently supported by Skink cohorts in their fight up against the Tomb Guard of Halberds, and is going a bit of a Godzilla versus King Kong moment, as the Feral Carnosaur does do a little bit of a tail whip there and roars aggressively at the Titan. Now that we have managed to pretty much finish off the Eyes of the Desert, although really lovely play by Void here, scrapping to the end, pops restore on them to keep them going, and summon the Shopty to protect them. Beautiful little play there coming out of the back pocket. We are going to be intercepting with the Skink cohort, just trying to hold these guys back and allow our big dinosaurs to be where they need to be, up against the Hero Titan. Restore coming down on him as well. Saurus Warriors are currently terrified, but the Saurus Spear is a little bit more stalwart. We also have some Skink cohorts who are going to be darting in onto the Eyes of the Desert now, who are unfortunately obstructed by their protectors, the Shopty. And once the Skinks get in here, I'm not expecting them to kill them, but they should be able to bog them down, annoy them, mess up their attack animations and all that good stuff. And now we've managed to juke the Shopty, Thunderous One as well as Cocky G, simply can float around this side and hop on top of these sneaky snakes. You have no bodyguards anymore. And yeah, looks like they've had a good run of it, getting 14 kills and some good damage value. They should be going down here. Shem's Burning Gaze is being lined up by the Hero Titan, and it's coming, boom, going for the Iron Man shot straight through the middle into the Thunderous One, doing some really lovely damage there. We are starting to run out of troops. Skink cohorts and Saurus Warriors doing a good job though. Halberds getting very low. Bounce Power's in my favour despite the Shopty summon, which is really good news, because when that goes down, we will be able to crumble a lot of the enemy. At this point, the Thunderous One has a decent amount of ammunition left as well, so we are going to be using that up, shooting into the Halberds, just trying to get them low, trying to start to get them to crumble, and also I don't mind playing the slow game at this point, with the Shopty slowly disappearing. Got some Saurus Warriors just vibing here, but the Shopty have indeed gone down. More poison shots continue to be assaulted by the Thunderous One, and now the Saurus Warriors will start to engage onto the Tomb Guard here. More Skinks can come around the flanks. Cocky G is looking full health. Feral Carnosaur as well. Wait until we get cold-blooded on him so we can pop in and really start to slaughter the Hero Titan. Saurus Warriors were using a sacrificial sense there just to buy time for the Thunderous One to use up its ammunition. Up to 79 kills here. Enemy troops are crumbling, and now we come in for the final assault. Saurus Warriors and Skink cohorts fighting in unison, flanking the opponent opposition here. If I can get my words out, Cocky G, Thunderous One, and Carnosaur all coming in, looking to assassinate that Necrotect and get it off the field, as well as abuse the Temple Guard. Tomb Guard, sorry. Oh my god, my mouth is dying. That's what happens when you do a double cast. So, Thunderous One, though, is coming in. Those big Thunder Strikes coming down, doing some lovely damage onto the Tomb Guard, and really starting to get them off the field. Cocky G as well, focus firing down those Necrotechs, doing massive burst damage to them. One Carnosaur is getting a little low. He's going to be coming in, though, trying to get the damage where he can on this Hero Titan, doing some good work there. Also distracting it while our other beasties set about their butcher's work. Necrotech is not looking too happy. Cocky G has all the buffs he needs. Swiftness of Itzel, Sacred Spawning as well on top of him, and that Necrotech simply shall not stand. And when alone, the Hero Titan stands zero chance here. Balance Power is ebbing and flowing massively towards army losses at this point. Feral Carnosaur breaks, but my opponent does bow out, knowing that the game is indeed over. I hope you guys enjoyed that one. That was some pretty insane stuff. Well played to Be'lakor. Really good performance by him. But again, I think showcasing pretty big weaknesses of box builds. And this is one of the reasons I don't like them. The big kind of buffs and stuff are really nice, coming down there and giving the damage resistance to all his troops. But in hindsight, I don't have to stay and fight there. When people drop these big buffs, they drop bonus time warp and so forth, just run away. They're not a particularly fast faction normally if they're going for a box build, such as the Tomb Kings here. So we could have just pulled back all our Saurus, pulled back all our Skinks, and either he sacrifices the box and moves out, and then we can jump on those juicy back targets. And normally you have a box because you have some real vulnerable targets you want to protect, and then we can just swan in with our big dinosaurs and absolutely crumple them before the box can reform. Or he sits there, wastes magic, and we keep popping those Flock of Dooms all day. Certainly can work though. I've seen it work multiple times. There's some matchups where box builds are amazing. For example, High Elves up against Vampire Counts. You get that Phoenix Guard box build, and yes, you can't pick and choose your engagements, but you're good up against literally everything, and it's a massive pain to deal with. So there are certainly good times in competitive play where box builds can come to the forefront and be very powerful, but as a rule of thumb, and overall, that's my opinion. I don't think they're too good, but let me know down below in the comments if you actually really enjoy box builds and you think they're amazing and that I'm completely wrong, and that's completely fine as well, and I'd like to hear your feedback. But in my opinion, box builds, now and again, not too bad. They can catch your opponent off guard, and if you haven't prepared for them, haven't brought, Flock of Doom here, for example, or, we didn't bring Maz Mundi, so we didn't have Banishment and Ruination, which would have just wrecked this in seconds, then all of a sudden, it's almost unbeatable. Like, you can't get in, you can't destroy this unit, Casket of Souls destroys your army, but it's a real real gamble, and that's what I think box builds are in general. It's a roll of the dice, and in Total Warhammer, I think it's normally odds on the house rather than odds on the box. How do we do? Crocky G, 2.4k damage value, glorious stuff by him, and he was relatively full health towards the end game, so plenty left to give. Little Skink Priest, though he got focused down, very good target priority by Be'lakor coming in here. 1.6k damage value, just a Flock of Dooms, is absolute madness. Little Skink Boys and Saurus did relatively good across the board as well, and Saurus struggled a little bit, although this unit got 1,000 to make up for it, and the big dinosaurs really brought the pain. 2.3k damage value here, 2.1 on the other unit, all dinosaurs being alive at the end of the game, although despite that, Ferrocarnosaur being a little bit beat up. Pterodon Riders weren't expertly microed by me. We should have 2v1'd the carrion first, have one unit in combat, the other one shooting in to finish them off, and then we would have just had free reign, and this battle would have been far, far easier. But instead, I kind of kited away with one and got damage with the other, and it was a little bit cost ineffective. As for my opponent, Casket of Souls, 700 damage value, not too shabby. Hero Titan, 1.2k. Sneaky Snakes, 1.1 as well. Carrion, 1,000. Doing really good there. Fortunately, the Tomb Guard, basically none of them paid for themselves, particularly the Kepler Guard. 220 damage value is abysmal for their price. And Architects, likewise, really struggling. Alk in the Black, not too bad, 1,000 damage value, but again, not covering his cost. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. It was a little bit of a special because unfortunately we're not going to be able to do the usual Friday stream today, so I thought I'd try and get 2 games in one for you guys. And yeah, let me know if you like this format. Maybe we'll do some more, maybe like once a week we'll do double casting with a bit more of an analysis and breakdown on different tactics and all that good stuff. So let me know down below. Feel free to like the video as well if you enjoyed, and subscribe if you're new to the channel so you get some more Total War Warhammer action. Down below in the description there are links to my Patreon as well as links to Discord where you can submit replays, chill have a load of cool guys, and see a load of pictures of ducks. But until next time guys, peace, and as always, stay awesome.